Hey guys, sitting up here, we're going to do a quick little video over how we hunt the late season, what we isolate, and how we, have been successful in the past. So, typically after that rut is over, you may have a second and third phase there, depending on your piece of property. But typically, the buck movement is really going to slow down there until you start getting these big fronts. And late season has been some of the best hunting that I've seen, especially on those fronts. So when you guys are getting out there and looking on the 10-day forecast there, then definitely isolate those cold fronts. If you've got cellular trail cameras or any trail camera, start transitioning those trail cameras back into the food, or on a trail system leading to food, and see if you can't target a big mature deer moving into that food source. A lot of hunters will get out there and they'll hunt till the rut and then they're just done. But that late season can really produce some quality hunts there. You really get to see the large majority of your deer that are out there on your piece of property living. And if you've got the food, you're going to draw in deer from a long ways, because a lot of hunters, they just don't do the food plots there. We run a lot of the Nixa hardware and seed company buck salad blend, rock solid. We plant that stuff back in August, and we just kind of let those deer come in there. We've got a couple of them. We've got some redneck blinds sitting over, and it just provides a great amount of food and nutrition for those deer all the way through the season there. But the other thing to kind of keep in mind is if you're able to hunt out of a blind, that wind and thermals, they're important all the way through the season. But I just find that those deer are so on edge, that late season. You have really got to make sure that your wind and your thermals are taken in consideration in your hunt. We hunt a lot out of our rednecks and our banks blinds there, but on occasion, if you got a new piece of property, or maybe we're hunting some public ground, we'll jump in the ground blind and see what that can do for us. But as you hunt, this other thing to really kind of keep in mind is staying out of the wind. So those deer, if it's a big windy cold front, typically you're going to have one area of that field that's covered, more by trees or whatever it is, switchgrass that or ag field with corn still standing, that will be out of the wind. So try to isolate, your trail cameras and your hunting location, into those, because those deer typically want to stay out of that wind as much as possible. And I think that should produce a pretty good avenue. And then one other thing there is water. I find that I get a lot of big mature deer up on these water holes, especially during that rut. But even on late season, I'll really start getting a lot more activity on those water holes. Especially in the in the midday into the evening time, when those bucks are still moving around there. They're not giving up on the rut yet, but it's just about over. And that late season can just provide a heck of a lot of good action for you. But just hunting even times, majority, unless you've got a big mature deer on there, keeping track of your cellular trail camera footage there. You may have a deer that's moving in, after dark on that food plot or that food source that, you think that, well, maybe I'm not ever going to have a chance at him, but you get your big giant cold front moving through there, and you hunt that evening before, and then those several days after, I think you may find yourself, being able to at least see that deer, if not be able to harvesting. So, if you're able to plant a lot of those food plots there, you're going to be able to draw deer from a long ways. And those deer remember where they can find that food. So, if you've got some big mature deer, that that you're one to, maybe you saw them, a mile or two away. Don't give up on those deer, because you can, if you plant those food plots there, those deer they'll travel, and then they'll come up in bed and stay fairly close, or maybe they're going to travel for quite a ways, and they'll give you an opportunity, maybe once or twice in that late season to shoot them. So hopefully this helps you guys out on late season strategies there, and like always, best luck on your guys' upcoming hunt.